of people who may or may not have had it coming, let's talk about President Donald J. Trump. Let's dovetail right into this guy right here. So, I don't know if you guys have heard, but there was a second hilariously inept attempted assassination attempt on Donald Trump last week. And what I wanted to talk about real quick is I was thinking about what happened, and I gotta tell you, we talk about how this is a nation in decline. You know, our business interests in decline, families are in decline. Presidential assassinations are in decline. Like people who the people who try to assassinate the president have been lower and lower in quality as time's gone on. And I was thinking, so in 1865, you have John Wilkes Booth, who was a famous, successul actor. You know, like if Kiefer Sutherland decided to assassinate the president, essentially what happened. And then you had James Garfield was shot by Charles Guiteau, and Charles Guiteau wasn't some national success story. He was a political hack, and he was mad that he didn't get, a job offer when Garfield became president. And then there's the assassination attempt that no one ever talks about. Well, that would be Garfield, but the other one no one ever talks about is President William McKinley in, I think, 1901. And he was assassinated by a guy named, I think, Richard Czolgosz was his name. And and this guy was the son of Polish immigrants, and he got the wild idea that the United States government had been taken over by business interests, and that these business interests had bought and paid all the politicians running the country. And he got radicalized when he was laid off from his job at a steel mill, I think. And although he was a trained craftsman or a trained employee in this field, he couldn't find work anywhere for years. And he started noticing this trend that this was happening to everyone he knew. And people who did worked like 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. And life was the Gilded Age. Life was getting worse. And he saw McKinley as the head of the snake, so he shot him. And I think there's a reason we don't talk much about Richard Czolgosz. Just saying. I don't think it's a coincidence that we don't talk about this guy very much. And then the next one after that, you have Lee Harvey Oswald, who, yes, Oswald was a weird loser. Like, let's not get that confusing. But he was a weird loser. He got the job done. Yeah, he accomplished his task. You can't take that from him. And then you had the attempt by Hinckley, also a weird loser, didn't get the job done. And then you got these two with Trump. What are their names? Ralph, what was the other guy's name? Crooks. Thomas Matthew Crooks. Equally weird losers. So what are you guys' thoughts on this? I just want to know what do you think when you read about it? We'll go to you first, Ate.
This is gonna sound so insensitive.
Let's go.
But I miss the days. God damn it! I miss the days when, you know what I'm saying, like when Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. Can you imagine how that would have played out today? Like your ops just like walking you down at the middle of the movie theater, just like fucking 2 feet away from you and just letting it go.
Yeah.
That's a real assassination. That's a real life.
Yes.
Like it reminds me of the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Like,
bro
was eating a sandwich and pulled up, saw him right there and said, "Oh, bet." And you know what I'm saying, locked in. And I'm so confused in a world where our guns are like a million times more powerful than they were at the time. Like you don't gotta like put a gunpowder in the musket and fucking toss the ball in there. 2 whole presidential assassinations assassination attempts on Trump's life, and not a single one even like really even injuring him. And I don't mean to like get in there and you know, skirt the line of like getting on national television and being like 4 assassinations, but I do find it really kind of interesting that at least for the first one, it seemed to me that there was a really like clear line of like, it was correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like he had a kind of a clear shot, right? Like bro was standing on the podium. How far away was he? Like 300,
150 yards.
That's nothing.
It's nothing. It's an easy shot. Easy shot. Yeah.
And so I guess I can only respond to that by questioning like whether or not that that is something that where the person who did it actually is just that awful of a shot in real life, which if he is, why would you even try to assassinate a president?
The thing is, he literally, like, the funny thing is, he was kicked out of his high school riflery club for just being so bad.
Really?
Like, he legitimately, this is a thing about that. He's a fucking stormtrooper in real life.
He's a stormtrooper.
That adds so much working. Oh, that makes it so much funnier. So he knew there was like a 10% chance in real life that he hits on target.
That he was the worst shot in the state of Pennsylvania, and he's like, I can pull this off. I'm sure I can do this. It's just wild. Like, everything about both these guys is just absolutely crazy. Like, well, John, I think you know address this one if you'd like. But what I also find funny about them is that once this happens, everyone thinks, okay, what kind of person is this? Is this going to be some, wild radical leftist, like some communist finally decided to do something, unlike usual? And
it never is, by the way. It never is.
And then you look at it, and their political beliefs are inscrutable as hell. They make no sense at all. So yeah, what do you think, John?
Yeah, like the firebomb a Walmart crew is just like getting put out to dry here.
Oh my God.
It's just like these two random people are doing the thing that you claim you should do, but you never will. Which you shouldn't do. It's really
right. You should not do it. Yes, thank you, John.
Let me be very clear. You should not try and assassinate anyone ever. Yeah. I guess maybe not anyone ever. I'm sure maybe a couple dudes had it coming.
We got to quit where we're ahead. We're ahead.
But in general,
he's like, dude.
John walking back his assassination stuff. Don't denial.
The thing is, like, you're kind of alluding to this, where it's like, yeah, these guys are crazy. They're crazy people. Like, if you go out and try and do this, there's something messed up about you, Mm-hmm. And I am someone who is on the fucking, I don't know, bandwagon the right word. Like, Trump is a fascist. Trump, if successful in all of his wants and desires, will end democracy. There is legitimate fear of that. And what I hear from Republicans over and over again, both times that this has happened, is, oh, well, the Democrats are spreading this fear and propaganda that's leading to these assassination attempts. And it's like, that might have some merit if it wasn't divorced from the reality that these two people were crazy people. Like, if these people had a manifesto and they said that, then, like, maybe you can make that argument, but they don't. Like, that's not what happened. And B, that doesn't mean it's not true. Like, they seem to be saying you can't call Trump a threat to democracy because it will lead to assassination attempts, even if he is a threat to democracy, which makes like they're trying to play it both ways, and it just doesn't have any logical consistency, because they're acting as if we didn't just watch him on the debate stage say, nah, I didn't lose the 2020 election. It was stolen from me. I'm continuing to do this. Yeah, when you do that, when you choose to deny the results of a democratic election beyond all evidence against you, yeah, you're a threat to democracy. And calling you that isn't instigating violence.
Yeah, it's I think that's one of the things that makes it so difficult to conversate about the assassination attempts of Donald Trump as leftists, is because, like, realistically, if Trump were like die today by any means, like, heart attack or whatever the case, like, none of us is I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting on Twitter and I'm smoking Trump pack like immediately. But in this instance of like political violence, and still wanting to be on the side of this is a very, very dangerous human being that, like, all jokes aside, if we're to be elected, would result in a lot of material consequences for a lot of people, namely the most vulnerable people in our society, minorities, disabled people, XYZ. And that is like, so he like poses a genuine threat to the safety of millions of people nationwide and worldwide, and still like holding space for that, while at the same time trying to skirt the line of like not being okay with political violence, is really, really difficult. Because when the Republicans say, oh, you guys did this, you guys start this, on some level, right, those guys, the people that did it, are crazy, and ideally, when a fascist person wants to rise to power in a situation like this, the ideal thing to do would for him to be like laughed out of the halls of Congress entirely. But that just isn't the reality. And the reality is that like he is supported by damn near half the country. And the contradiction that they run into when they talk about oh, Democrats did this, they're the ones that are responsible for this, is that I saw pictures from a Trump rally where somebody had painted was it Joe Biden or Kamala like tied up in the back of a van. And the things that they'll say, have you guys been on Truth Socials? Unhinged. The most unhinged like social media space ever.
I've been on Twitter and it's
Twitter's bad enough.
It's already bad enough on Twitter. They're the party of people that are actually outright saying. I saw a tweet today of somebody that actually had the FBI like walk up on them because they had said something about Kamala being assassinated or something on the lines of like wanting Kamala to be assassinated, right? So the Republicans and the Republicans specifically and the conservatives and a lot of the right wingers are really the ones that are pushing most for violence in like the most explicit terms, but then we'll turn around and like try to use like the concept of no violence in politics as a means of like defending Trump and lambasting Democrats whenever he gets assassination attempts, which honestly makes it seem to me that at least on some level, right, it is working. Trump's repeated assassination attempts are working for them politically. Because he never actually gets hurt in any of these, and I don't think he's ever in any real danger except for the very first one. I don't think he was in any real danger in this second one. But what it is it provided a really, really good political tool to wield against anybody that was saying that Trump is actually a threat to democracy.
Well,
he would have been in danger in the first one if the guy was trying to assassinate someone else.
Yeah, true. If he was aiming somewhere else, yeah, he would have.
He just moved like 2 feet to the left.
Exactly. Yeah, use some Kentucky windage and just trying to aim right off the center. So I think Trump isn't in any danger because, as we've established, that God Almighty has a hedge of protection around Donald Trump. God loves evil and he loves seeing the suffering of his creation. So he's all for it. Also, I think it's important that Trump doesn't, because you're right, there is this weird dissonance between Trump is a major threat to democracy. He's going to destroy the United States. He's going to hasten about the destruction of planet Earth. But boy, am I glad to see you alive. Like, that's a weird thing to say. Like, that's an odd sentence. However, I will defend it because I need Trump to be alive at least until the first week of November. After that, I don't care because although, man, I don't know how it would work. Like, there's no guarantee they'd make Vance the nominee, but I think Vance is the only person.
TJ, I'm sorry. If Donald Trump were to die in an assassination, the Democrats would agree to hold a special election next year.
You're right.
There's no way. There's no way. The Republicans were like, no, fuck you. We're going through with this.
Yeah.
The Democrats were like, oh no, it's only fair.
It's only fair. Give them a year to find a strong candidate, and then that would suck. But oh god, that's kind of depressing.
But I don't think there would be a strong. And this is the thing. This is why I'm so happy that Trump is so fucking old, because I don't see any Republican or any conservative with his ability to inspire the masses. Like, nobody's got his sauce. I'm sorry, there's only one Trump.
So we've talked about this plenty of times that we can't wait to see where the party goes after Trump, because there cannot be another Trump. All these clowns are trying to replicate Trump. You can't do it. Trump is such a uniquely specified person for creating a cult of old bigots. And it's like, they're gonna huddle around JD Vance or Ron DeSantis. No, that's just never gonna happen. Yeah, they're losers, and they're copying. They're not blazing their own path forward. So what I would be more worried about is if, like, you know how George W. Bush, he had this renaissance, like, oh, he was actually a good guy. They're going to do this with like Nikki Haley or something. And then a bunch of regular people like, oh, she doesn't seem so bad. And then we get, mainly the same policies without the cult. Sure. But I can easily foresee someone filling that old Republican lane, but they will lose the people Trump brought in, like the people who weren't all really political, but they just love that figure. So they'll lose a big chunk. Those folks are going to be gone. And John, you were talking about how, you know, the firebomb the Walmart crew isn't doing this, but it's the right-wing gun nuts. And I do love that they're sucking it at the one thing that they brag about all the time, about how they love their firearms and they want to take down a tyrannical government. And they're 0 for 2 so far. You know, good job guys on that one. I don't know. And Ata, you were talking about the guy who got the visit in the FBI. That was the head of the New Hampshire Libertarian Party. And so he posted a tweet. Yeah, he posted a tweet.
That insane Twitter account. That utterly
insane. Yeah.
Even for libertarians,
yes.
This is the most insane Twitter account.
Even by libertarian standards?
Look, man, like the worst right-wing views you can imagine. Like, you know, it should be legal to marry children. Women shouldn't vote. I honestly, whatever you can think of, this guy has said it. And like last week, he said something like, but he said that he like put a bounty on Kamala Harris or something like that. I can't remember, but he's like, oh no, he said whoever takes out Harris would be an American hero. That's what he said. And the FBI. Yeah, and the FBI came and visited him. And you know what I hated about that video of him recording the FBI? He actually made some good points. I fucking hated it. Because the guy comes up and he's like, oh, we're here with the FBI. He goes, well, what's your name? He's like, you know, I'm Agent Jackson. He goes, all right, well, you got any ID on you? So here's my badge. He goes, well, I need to see some credentials. If I'm going to talk to a federal representative of the state, I'm going to need to see. I was like, God, it's a good point. It's a good point. I fucking hated it. But yeah, that was some wild shit. And
what pissed me off the most about that is that they bucked down. I was like, I thought the FBI was supposed to be scary.
You know what? They didn't. Yeah, you're right. They kind of just like, okay. And that one guy didn't even give his name. He's like, "What? I want my name broadcast." It's like, you're operating, you know, under the auspices of the state. You have to give your name. What are you talking about? It's like I didn't get that at all. But with Ralph, I just wanted to show. I'm not gonna play the video, I don't think, but. Does this look like a crazy guy to you? Like, this guy looks pretty sane, right? Like, this is the dude that you can trust hanging around your golf course. You know, that's some wild stuff.
He looks a little different. I'm not gonna lie.
Looks. I wanted to talk about. So this guy, he was very active, like a pro-Ukrainian activist. Did you guys see anything about that?
Yeah, and like went there. Like,
Go ahead, John.
He like recruited people to go over there and fight in Ukraine. Like and like it's like I don't know if this guy was any good at it, but like you'd think he'd be better shooting a sitting duck on a golf course if he's going over there and actually helping him fight.
Okay, so I actually need like the story explained to me, because after the first assassination, I heard about the second one and I was like, honestly, don't care if did Trump didn't die, whatever. So what was the?
All right. That's so great too, because like you knew what was going to happen when you heard about it. You're like, oh, if they didn't give a fuck about the first one, they sure as hell are not going to care. But nobody cares or whatever.
Yeah.
So this is what we know about Mr. Routh. So let's see. I'll pull it up right here. Yeah. Oh, so he wasn't armed when they found. All right, here we go. This is so go down too far. So he was a white male who authorities believed to be the suspect, who was crouched in the bushes near the golf club perimeter, armed with a weapon equipped with a scope. 2 backpacks and a GoPro camera were also found with a firearm near the perimeter from which the suspect had fled. Local authorities said the gunman was 400 to 500 yards away from the president at the time. So, like, he never had Trump in his line of sight. And he was, I guess he just assumed Trump would be. I saw a lot of people saying, well, how did he know that Donald Trump was going to be golfing on a Sunday? It's like, I don't know if you need to be a detective to figure that one out. I would just guess. Seems like something Trump would do, right? And these are the bags that he had on the fence that he was waiting for. And they're the weapon right there too. I don't know if you guys can see it right there. That's the weapon. And it was poked through the fence like a goddamn cartoon or something. He had it raised up there, just waiting like that. And so, John, you were talking about him. He didn't actually fight overseas. He went over to Ukraine to recruit people, but he wasn't like enlisted in the military. He was like a cheerleader, you know. And where do I have right here that he wasn't armed? Oh, there. I love this. This guy is fantastic. It's so great. And he wrote a book. So where did I find right here? It's the 2020. He made posts directed at Donald Trump telling him to, stop the war in Ukraine. All right, the New York Times said it interviewed him for a feature on pro-Ukrainian foreign fighters last year. The Times said Ralph traveled to Ukraine in 2022 to recruit ex-Afghan soldiers who fled the Taliban to fight for the embattled nation. All right, I want to pause there too. Like, you imagine fleeing the Taliban and it's like, hey man, why don't you come fight in Ukraine? She was no. Like, what? I feel that people.
What a flee! Did you not understand?
Right? Yeah, just one war right into another. And neighbors in Hawaii said that he would spend months at a time in the country in 2022. In 2023, Ralph self-published a book titled "Ukraine's Unwinnable War," where he first introduced the notion of a Trump assassination. So the guy had talked about killing the president before, which I found pretty funny. And so when I saw that, I was like, okay, I've got to find out what he said. Like, what do they mean? You can't just say that. You got to let me know in what ways did he advocate for the assassination of Trump? And here's the statement right here.
Oh, yes.
He says, in a book published in 2023 about the war, well, they misspell a type of the war in Ukraine, Ralph claimed that readers were free to assassinate Trump. No one here in the U.S. seems to have the balls to put natural selection to work, or even unnatural selection, he wrote. And so, following the second assassination of Trump in 64 days, 58-year-old Ralph is now in custody with the Secret Service agents. From Trump's protective detail, saw him holding a rifle on a chain link fence and Trump International Golf Course. So yeah, not exactly a surprise suspect. And this makes me wonder. So John, we did a whole thing talking about how the first attempt, like all these people spreading conspiracies that Trump set this up and this is wild and everything. I don't think this one was a conspiracy either. But it looks a hell of a lot more like one than the other one. That this is the most, feeble attempt I've ever seen. A guy who's on the radar for the New York Times already, multiple arrests, been to foreign countries. Like, the government is watching this guy. You're flying back and forth to Ukraine for the United States. Yeah. It just seems like something that I'm not saying he's a Fed. I'm not saying that, but John, what do you think? Like on your radar
in terms
here?
of I think that this is legitimate. Again, just a crazy person doing crazy things, but there's a lot more.
Smoke here.
There's a lot more smoke here because in the first one, the thing that I was like, it's not fucking fake, guys. Is a dude died, like a random civilian died, and like I don't think Trump would actually literally kill one of his and you know what? As much as I do that, I don't think he'd put himself in that close to danger of death.
It is. Yeah, those bullets are right
even
by
if you don't believe that. So like I don't. But this one, he didn't shoot.
Nope.
There were gunshots fired, but none of them hit him.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Secret Service were the one to fire the gunshots, and they didn't hit him. After the incompetency of the first assassination attempt, you would think that like either they're going to remain incompetent or they're going to make sure they kill the motherfucker.
Yeah.
And neither of those things happened. He just kind of gets away and is in custody of the Secret Service. Again, I don't think it's a conspiracy, but you have a lot more smoke on this one. And I do think it's a little funny how, like, no one who isn't a Republican is even talking about it.
Nope.
It is odd how it's just like no one's even acknowledging it. Like everyone released their statements and like Republicans are trying to keep it in the news cycle to take heat off of the fucking immigrants eating cats and dogs thing. But like it's just not working. And like they're like little children throwing a tantrum. Because I think everyone understands. Like I think even them in their heart of hearts understands that when you do what Donald Trump does, they invoke crazy people to take shots at you. like you can't, like you were kind of mentioning out there, like he has straight up in front of national television said, I'm going to commit political violence against millions of people in this country. 100%. I am willing to lie about them being illegal immigrants, and I'm going to deport them. That is what he said about these specific immigrants in Ohio who are legal residents of the United States. And when he was asked directly, point blank, what does this look like? Is it going to be, agents going door to door and deporting people? He refused to answer the question. It's very clear that he intends to commit violence on millions of people. It's not unfair to say, yeah, bro, sometimes that's going to make people shoot at you.
What's concerning to me in that is that And then correct me if I'm wrong, but I've read that both of the would-be assassinators were registered Republicans, were they not?
The first one was. The second one, I don't think. I haven't heard anything about the
Yeah.
registration. I heard that they originally supported Trump in 2016. They switched eventually to become like Haley Vivek voters and were supportive of Kamala Biden in opposition to Trump.
Yeah, he voted for Trump in 2016. I think he voted for Biden in 2020, and he registered for the Democrats to vote in the primary. And the last statement he made about who he supported, he wanted a Haley Ramaswamy ticket. I think he supported Beto O'Rourke at one time. Guys just all over the place. Yeah, it's just
throwing darts.
Exactly. So it's the Republicans want so bad for him to be like this, true blue voter. And once again, crazy person. That's why it doesn't stick. And they keep trying to say they are after Trump. It's like the insane people. Okay. Yeah. All right. I get it. But yeah. So that's the best way to describe it. It's just inscrutable.
I find it so funny that he was a Vivek and Nikki Haley. Because if there are any two candidates, I was always a quadrillion% sure we're never getting anywhere close to the presidency. It was Vivek and Nikki Haley. I don't know where this delusion came from within POC, people of color, Republicans running for office for really high positions, that they were exempt from the very obvious, very unscrupulous, very sort of face forward racism of their party. I've seen some of the things that some people would say to Vivek Ramaswamy when he
my God. We're well aware.
Why did he think he had a chance?
Oh, yeah. He would go to it was in Ohio or Iowa, I think. And they were talking about, what are some things that might prevent you from voting for me? It's like, well, your skin color is one thing, man. To his face, to his face. You're like, oh, buddy, that is just that is cold.
He would nod and be like, yeah, I totally respect your right to say that. And you know what I mean? That's how they are.
Or the Ann Coulter interview he did. Do you remember the guys? Yeah, it's it's some rough shit. So I don't know. It's just been fun to watch with all this. I can't wait to see how this all turns out. But I just love the fact that they are just immersing themselves in trying to guilt people. I just saw Trump he was talking to Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and she brought up you've been shot for this country, and it's no one cares, no one gives a fuck, man. It is wild. To the extent that I think more people than should actually believe Trump set up the first one. That's how little they care. They think you're bullshitting. So I don't know.
I'll be honest, that's the most surprising thing to have come out of all of this, is seeing just how little people cared. Because I remember when it happened, dude, I thought this was it for democracy. I'm thinking, okay, this is the Reagan effect. He's gonna go in there and he's gonna come out and he's gonna win by a fucking landslide. Or at the very least, if he doesn't win by a landslide, this would be one of the most important moments in modern political history. No, nothing.
Yeah.
It'll be like a page in a book. Just the Trump assassination attempts of 2024. It'll just be 2-3 paragraphs, and then that'll be that. That's crazy to me. I thought it'd be way bigger.
He is the least cool attempted murderers too. The guys, there's nothing cool about them at all.
Nothing
and so that's a wild shit right there. Any closing thoughts from you, John?
Nah, that's pretty much it. I guess, what's the over under
for what?
There being another one.
Oh, I mean, what?
It actually, I think that after the first one, it's I would have bet it's not going to happen again. Now that there's been two, it's open season, copycats. It's a real concern at this point. All right, guys, you made it to the end of this episode. This has been a wonderful, I don't even know what you just watched, because we talked about so many topics today, but I hope you had a good time. If you did, make sure to make sure to subscribe. And if you liked our guest, the wonderful Destructo Hugo, we had multiple comments saying today, Destructo, where can people find you?
Yeah, man. Thanks once again for having me on. I had literally messaged. I don't know if TJ told you, but I was like, I haven't argued. I haven't just ranted about politics in a while, bro. Let me get on the fucking podcast. What am I doing? I fucking love it here. And so if you wanna, this is really because I've tailored my content now to be more sort of cinema focused. So this is one of the places where I get to just speak unabashedly about politics. But if you would like to see my left wing centered takes on art, cinema, TV, pop culture, and things of that nature, then you can find me on TikTok at Destructojugo. You can also find some of my more longer form videos on YouTube at Destructojugo, and you can find me as well on Instagram, in the same name.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Ate. We appreciate you coming to the show. Folks, we appreciate you watching us. This show does not suck, but if you watch one of our segments, you'll find out about an associate of Trump who absolutely does. So we'll catch you guys next time. See you around. Thanks for joining.